Buonasera a tutti.
Good night, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Let's lift our hands up, expand our arms, because this is the temple of light, and we receive the light in our lives. Inhale deeply, take a deep breath, like we did for 25 years in this temple. Breathe in positivity, and let's feel all united in the ceremony of light. Higher up with your arms and hands stretched tall, and then exhale, relax. Welcome, great souls. This is a ceremony of light of the Temple of Light, 25 years. And I calculated how many days these are. Do you know how many they are? These are almost 10,000 days where here every day people meditate, people come together, ceremonies, union, prayers to channel light on us, for us personally and for this world. And this is a brilliant light, and we want to celebrate today this wonderful, wonderful temple as a channel of light. And this temple has transformed so many lives. And tonight we will see people who will talk, historic people, let's say this, who in 25 years have been here. And some are video messages, we'll have music inspiration. But first of all, we want to celebrate in our heart something joyous for the birthday of this temple. And so with gratitude, the first thing it will be the choir. They will sing a few songs and try to open to the light of the music. What would happen if for for 25 years people unite in a concentrated place here to pray, to sing, to open the heart, to love God, to give concerts, initiations, have deep inner experiences. Swami Kriyananda says and explains that every house absorbs the vibrations of those who live inside. And if you are sensitive, when you step into a place, you can feel the vibration that's inside. And the temple creates a very high vibration. And everyone who enters inside after 25 years is automatically uplifted. You can't help this. When you open your heart and step inside, the temple becomes alive. I've read from an Indian master about a temple that he has built in India. He says this temple is like living Shiva, the divine Shiva, and in this body of Shiva, in this temple is the body of Shiva. And I thought, it's true. I've been on many pilgrimages, and there are temples that really seem to be alive in the vibration that they put out, and it's the same for this, our temple. And tonight, let's think about this temple, not like a building, but like a living being, a being that has become alive through the energy of all. And the temple tonight speaks to you through every person who speaks tonight. These are all people who have been here 25 years ago when the temple was built. So try to imagine if this temple could talk, what would it say? It speaks to you through people, through music, through melody. The temple speaks to you through videos tonight. It talks to you about his story from a physical level to the energy level to the supreme spiritual level. And listen to the temple, what he wants to tell you tonight, what he has lived in these 25 years. And the first story about the temple tonight is a video message. Try to imagine that the temple is talking through you, through images, through photos, about his childhood when he was very small. So just absorb this video message from the temple to you. The construction of this temple was a wonderful experience, a joyous experience, and also a challenge. There have been 10 to 15 volunteer helpers, and they came here, they left their homes, their job, to come here and build this temple. Other 50 people helped building, some just for a few days, others for a few months. We are building a home for God, and we felt a lot of joy. We worked during the rain, the snow. Before we started the day, we would always pray together, and before we had lunch, we meditated together. In the evening, we would chant Om. This was really necessary to overcome the challenges during our experience. The most difficult works, in the most difficult works, we could see how God realized this temple through us. Many miracles have happened during the construction. And I know that you can also experience a miracle inside of you when you come. It was Arjuna who just talked in this video. He was the head of the group who built this temple. But now we have another person who will speak to you, and it's Dino. He has a wonderful strength. Who knows him? The temple could not speak about his story without having Dino speak. If you look around anywhere, you will see Dino's hands. He has built inside, outside, everywhere. Really, it was my hands, but it wasn't my hands. It was Master's hands who worked here and who have attracted us. We were all devotees and volunteers, and that's the beautiful thing about the temple, because we meditated, we chanted Om, as Arjuna said in the video. It was a great miracle, and like Arjuna has said, the same things. Building a temple is a little bit like climbing a mountain. Sometimes it's difficult and you risk to fall down. Something can happen or go wrong. But then when you're at the top and you see the view, the wonderful view, and you don't think about the difficulties anymore, but only about the beauty around you. And that's the same thing that happened with the temple. We have worked, but we were just instruments of the masters, of the love of the masters who attracted us here to build together. And it was an enthusiastic idealism. The masters have helped us in our heart, in our soul, and the body just went along and just worked and built and had the experience. But it was just Master's energy. The temple is of everyone. It's the Masters, it's from God, and it's also a symbol. A symbol. It's the temple, it's the structure, yes, but it's also the temple that everyone who comes here can bring home, in the inner temple of everyone, where you can find God, where you can find the love of the Masters. It's been a great miracle. Also, when we were building the blue ceiling that no one has, the roof that didn't exist, and we couldn't really build them, and they signed it afterwards. The roof, I've always worked in construction work. I had 30 years of experience, but this curvy roof, it was the weirdest thing I had ever done. And a company from Germany came with 10 employees, and they would also bring volunteers and devotees along to build. And the masters really drew us here to work together. Myself, Arjuna, Matthew, Stephen, Van. I could make a long list, 45, 50 people, and I would still forget someone. But thank you also. Thank you to Shivani, a great thank you, Arjuna's wife, because she really has moved along many things. She was not with us working physically, but she attracted many things. She went down to the town hall of Nocera to see with the technical studio, and she really did a lot of work. She's not present in the photos, but she also needs to be mentioned, and we need to be thankful for her love for God, for the Masters, for Swamiji. She really has done a lot. A great thank you to Shivani also. and she's really moved things along. It was a continuous miracle, really a challenge, yes. And it's like really like climbing a mountain, and when you're on the top, you just have only the beauty and you forget the difficulties. I don't have great enough arms to hug everyone, to embrace everyone, and I think the masters do it much better than I can do. They will hug and bless everyone who has worked in this temple and bless them for their work, for the love that they put into the temple, for their whole life. Because we worked with all our heart, all our soul, because we knew this was a building, a construction work for everyone who would come in the future. And it was joyous in our heart. Even if it was hard work, it was just wonderful, a continuous miracle, and it still is. And I want to thank everyone who was here to work, and I thank you all who are here, and I'm sure that the masters will always give us even more than what we do. Thank you. As Dino said, there could be 40, 50, 100 people, 200 people. The temple is a living being, and it speaks about many different stories. Everyone has contributed, even people after the construction work. This temple for us as a community united us because all our hearts wanted this temple. We wanted a place to meditate. We didn't have a place, we didn't have a temple, and we wanted a place where we could all be united. So now you will hear one more voice, even more voices, but now Sahaja will speak. For those of you who know her, she's a pillar of this community, and let's see what she wants to tell. No, what the temple wants to tell us through Sahaja. Namaste, dear friends. There are moments in the life of every single person, and the construction of the Temple of Light was a very special moment for Nanda, but also for me personally. My name is Sahaja, and thanks to the construction of the Temple of Light, I got to know my master Yogananda and Ananda 25 years ago, and it was in the autumn of 94 when I met Kirtani and Gitanjali, who then were traveling through Europe to make this great project of Light know, and they were fundraising for the temple. And this is one of the beautiful characteristics of Ananda, to never give up on an economical level, but to understand that matter is a manifestation of energy and thought. And if we have a great ideal, and if the ideal is not for us egoistically, but for whole humanity, and if we put out enthusiasm and energy, then the project can be realized. And I arrived at Ananda a few months after this meeting, and then the Temple of Light was just a huge hole in the soil, covered with snow, because it was snowing by then. But we could already breathe the enthusiasm of something really big. We could feel the great faith that Ananda has, and that is a characteristic for the teachings of Yogananda. Ananda was really small. There was just a very small group of people who, with great courage, brought forth the teachings of Yogananda. And in that moment, I didn't know that only 10 months later I would move to Ananda, and I had no idea that my job would be to care about the accountancy, the of the Temple of Light. And when I moved to Ananda, it was a great example of faith, of having faith. And one of the mottos of Ananda, that many hands make a miracle, and working in accountability. I really saw that it was a miracle. Every time we had to pay a bill and we didn't have the money, then somehow the money would come in for the construction of the temple, for the material, for the roof. And I remember that Shivani had drawn a great thermometer, and it was my job with a colored pencil to draw the lines of the money that was fundraised. And it was a great experience, because I could see how much was donated by all these people for the temple. People who gave a little bit of money, others who gave a lot, just what they could give. And it was so wonderful to see how many people wanted to contribute to build this house of light. It was so inspiring. It was also so inspiring to see the manifestation of another motto of Ananda, which is many hands make a miracle. Because during those times, so many people came from America, from all of Europe, to help build the temple. And it was a great physical expansion too for Ananda in Assisi and Ananda in Europe, because many people stayed to live at Ananda. For example, Bhima too, he came to work here, and then he stayed and lived here. And many American devotees too, who were living in other Ananda communities in America, who stayed to live here. It was a moment of great expansion, of great joy, of many challenges that have been overcome. And it has united us in faith and in energy. And when we had the inauguration with Swamiji, it was wonderful. And some things were still missing, but Swamiji was there, and it was the result of our faith, and it was a wonderful, wonderful moment. The temple for me has become a home of my soul, and I know for many of you too. And I have wonderful memories of the Temple of Light, especially the week when Swami Kriyananda left his body, and his body was kept in the Temple of Light for a week, and his body was here in the temple, and those days became the center of our lives. So many people came from all of Italy and Europe and the world to say and goodbye and thank Swamiji and to honor him and to meditate with him. And also the neighbors from this zone came, and they would say, in that year, in 2013, they said that they could see a great light emanating from the temple, and it was not the electrical light, it was the light of this intensity of faith, of love, of union. And I hope that the physical temple of light at Ananda Assisi, Ananda Europe, can become a home for all of you who are listening. I know that for many of you it is already, and I hope that this light will expand in your life, in your heart, in your cities, and that you can live these ideals of faith and union. Namaste. If this temple would speak with so many different voices, the strongest would probably be the one that Sahaja mentioned, Swami Kriyananda. Swami Kriyananda was a powerful channel who transformed all of our lives, and he made this temple possible because we acted on his inspiration, and he was a channel for Yogananda. And during those years he would speak on Saturdays and do the ceremony of light on Sunday. And he lived here for 10 years, and He would speak every week, and when he talked, he not only tried to transmit concepts, but foremost he tried to transmit the vibration of Yogananda. And here in the wood, in the floor, in the carpet, you can feel the vibration of Yogananda. Swami said, if there is the vibration of a master, the vibration stays. And if your heart is open, you can feel this vibration. I will tell you something personal. Sometimes I've already told this story. It was a week or 2 weeks of retreat, personal retreat, seclusion we call it, where you don't see anyone, you're just with yourself, with God and nature. And it was a Saturday, and Swami Kriyananda had to do his satsang here in the temple. I didn't want to see anyone, but I also didn't want to miss the satsang with Swamiji. So I came up and I sat there outside with the open window. It was summer, it was warm, and I was in a very deep and sensitive state. And in that moment I saw what Swami Kriyananda did. I saw with my eyes how he stood there, and I saw light emanating from him that touched everyone while he was talking and joking and being lovingly with everyone. He was sending out light and blessing everyone in the temple. And in that moment I could see this light because I was in such a deep state. Sometimes we can have these experiences, and I know that his energy is still here in the temple, in every corner, in every thing, and the temple speaks about Swami Kriyananda. And we will now see a video from when the temple wasn't even built, was not complete, and we would already meditate inside. As you can see in the video, we still had to fundraise a lot of money, and he put out so much energy, and this energy from Swami, from all of us, is what helped complete this temple. And try to think now if there's something else than the words that arrive to you by watching this video.
Come here while I sing you of emerald hills, of valleys and meadows so fair, that all who have seen them have carried away memories in their hearts, friends, like the lilacs of May. Oh, my song is the story of the lilacs of May. My song is the story of deer on the hills, of larks that soar seeking the sun, of nightingales lifting the curtain of night, as with music they bring down heaven's blessing of light. Oh, my song is the story of God's blessing of light.
Now the temple will talk to you through music. Darshan, whom you already also saw in the video 25 years ago, you will see now, and he will play for you. And you will also see an arati, which is an offering of light, of the little light within us to the great light.
Con questo piccolo gesto vogliamo ringraziare
Small gesture, we want to thank this place for all the love and light that we have received through it in these 25 years. So while we listen to darshan, you can also offer thanks to the temple, to Swamiji, to the masters. And if this temple is alive and talks to you, then the voice of Arjuna cannot be missing, because he's really the head of this temple. He's the motor behind the construction, and let's listen to what the temple wants to say through him. You know that today is Halloween, the party, and Halloween then people, many years ago, people would dress like saints. Halloween is the night before hallowed, before the saints became saints. So people would dress like different saints, and it would be nice if we could do the same thing on October 31st, because the saints, when they lived, they wanted to become saints like us today. In the autobiography, we've all read how Babaji saw the potential in the West, that so many people wanted to become one with God, feel the peace, love and harmony, and that's why he sent Yogananda to the West to make this possible. And through this devotion, the devotion also means harmony, and you can see many different small miracles, and one was with 𝗟𝗚𝗩𝗪𝗓. 𝗟𝗚𝗪𝗪, if you know, in the beginning we wanted to build something simple, like a temple like the ones of Saint Francis, but then 𝗟𝗚𝗪𝗪 said to me, Arjuna, I have an inspiration. Come here to Lugano and I'll show you. So I went up to Lugano and I saw his idea, and I immediately felt this is Ananda, and everyone who saw the idea said, yes, this is Ananda. Simple but inspiring. So 𝗟𝗚𝗪𝗪, who now lives outside of Zurich, he said, Arjuna, I've been an architect for many years, but I've never drawn something like this, not easy, but so inspiring. He drew all the lines, all the colors, everything in some hours only. It was like a divine flow, and it really was. And so this was one of the first drawings I saw about the temple, and I saw it was made for us. And like Dino and others have said, I felt that Master Babaji, they drew people here who had an open heart and who wanted to give energy. Even people who were not from our path of Kriya Yoga, they wanted to feel the inner communion. And as you have heard before, from Russia, from Germany, from Italy, from America, from so many places, people came with experience, without experience, more without experience, but with a lot of enthusiasm. Like us at the beginning of our path, we don't know much about meditation, we don't know much about yoga, but there is something in our heart that says, yes, keep on going, do this. And so after the beginning of the temple, Swami saw the drawing And Swamiji said, yes, this is Ananda. And now there's another temple like this in Seattle and also at another village. A temple has been built very similar to this one. One thing very interesting about the tiles of the roof, it was 1994, 95, blue tiles wouldn't exist. And when Shivani and myself went to search for them, it was easier those times to build. And so Shivani and I, we went to the place where you get the permission to start building, and the technician saw the drawing and said, oh, mamma mia, impossible. And so we thought, well, it should be something should happen. And so this man was also a man of the heart, and he said, listen, you are in the countryside, and this temple seems to me a hayloft. So I'll give you a permission to build a hayloft, because it just looks a little bit like that. And we said, okay, thanks for the permission to build a hayloft. And it's still nowadays, it's still a hayloft, officially, in the papers. But for us, it's the temple of light, a temple of joy. Because as 𝗟𝗜𝗙𝗘 said, every person that came here prayed, and we saw all the prayers that we offered, that we made here in the temple. And like in India and other places in Italy, this has become a sacred place. And when we started building the roof with the tiles, all of a sudden a German guy came and said, I have heard that you are building a temple of light with these tiles. And he had a company that builds tiles and in Germany. And so he came, and he made all the tiles for us, and he gave them to us for free, for the love of God. And he's a great man who loved God. He came in the right moment, because we had no idea how to build the roof. And when we wanted to choose the color, we went to Venice, because we had heard that Venice is the place where these colors, this beautiful blue is made. And so we looked all around, and finally someone said, go into this street, and the street is called Strada di Tutti i Santi, the street of all saints. And there we found artisanal worker, a very simple man who had never made tiles, blue tiles, no tiles before. So he just had a little shop, and he would only build 20 pieces every time. And he would just make them from terracotta and build and paint them white. And that was his. And then he would put the blue on top, and he would just make 20 at a time, and then he would send them. And as Sahaja said, when we needed things or money, it just in the right moment, everything just happened and was received. And Swami once said, we were still in the lower temple, and Swami said to me, come here, and Swami gave me $10,000 for the construction work of the temple. And many people did this because they felt the necessity for this temple for inner communion. And this was the beginning for me, the beginning of this movement, like Babaji and Yogananda have said, the movement of inner communion. And for us, it was the beginning of this temple, and we are building a new temple, the second temple. It has begun, but it was stopped because of COVID. But everything will pass, and we will go on building the second temple. Maybe you saw the design outside, and this is the design of an American architect. His name is 𝗟𝗜𝗚𝗛𝗡, and he lives here, and he was meditating one day in the place where Swamiji has left the body, and this design for the new temple came to him in a flash, and it's very beautiful. So thank you all for being here and for giving energy, and happy Halloween! Now the temple continues to tell us something, for sure, a great story told through Kirtani. Kirtani is our spiritual director, and she was always very close to Swami Kriyananda, and it is that light that she will now share with us. And the light that is in this sacred temple. It's interesting to think about why this temple was built, why it was necessary in the beginning, and some of you were here during those times. We had two places that were used as a temple. One was the first bungalow that you can see, which is now Lakshmi's office. And the other building that we used as a temple was the ground floor of the retreat. And we needed these two places because we would have loved to stay always at the retreat as a temple, but it was also the property of a hunter association, and I think also now it's hunting season, so every year, September, October, we had to leave our temple, which was so calm and peaceful, and we had to leave it to the hunters and come here to the very, very small temple, the office, because during those months the hunters were there. And then we had to go back and we had to recreate this vibration to meditate instead of the vibration of the dead animals and that had been eaten and killed. And we had to rebuild the energy, raise the energy to have a place to meditate and do our spiritual practices. So at a certain point, we didn't have, both places were not big enough anymore for the people who arrived. And in that moment, Arjuna said that we had a very simple plan for a new temple. In the beginning, it was only a quarter of this big temple, and thanks to God that then we had a vision to build a bigger temple that could serve for 25 years so wonderfully, and we could have our temple and not go back and forth during the year anymore. I remember we just saw a picture of the ceiling that you can see. You can see these huge wooden ceilings, and they were needed to keep up the temple. And I remember that I was with a Russian devotee in the little wood above the temple, and we sat down and we were looking how these huge wooden construction arrived, and so many miracles have happened during the construction, and one of it was to see these huge pieces of the temple arrive on trucks, and how they were put into place with all this machinery. And we were so inspired to see the skeleton of the temple, and I was so moved when how much time passed, Arjuna, from when we had the raw structure to when everything was done. I think it was 6 months, because the people who worked here, they would even work in the snow. Usually in Italy, when it snows, all the construction work is put on hold. But Arjuna had this team that was so dedicated. They also worked during the cold, during the snow, during the rain. And so the temple was finished very quickly. And then this Russian girl came back, and I walked with her, and we entered the temple, and she arrived at this door, and she looked inside, and it was not completely finished by then, but she saw the manifested dream, and she started crying for the joy. She was so touched about everything, all the energy that was needed from the first moment of starting the construction to when it was finished. And as we have said before, so many people have come to help, and there were so many events. Like Dino said, we could not list all the people who helped, because we would probably forget someone. It's not impossible to talk about all the events that happened here in this sacred space. But I want to mention all the ceremonies that happen in this temple. For example, the ceremonies, the Sunday service, the discipleship ceremony, the Kriya initiations. There was a moment some years ago when we had the first meeting of all Kriyabans of the world. So Kriyabans came from America, from India, from other places of the world to be together, all Kriyabans of the world. And that was a moment of such a strong presence of the Masters, who are always present in these moments of ceremonies. We had moments here of baptism, or let's think about the ascension ceremony, when a person leaves his or her body from the beginning of a life to the end of a life. We had all the celebrations and ceremonies of a spiritual life here in the temple. Sahaja mentioned the moment of Swamiji's trespassing, and his body was here in the temple, and the temple was filled with people, with devotees from Italy, from Europe, from all the world, who came, like 𝗟𝗜𝗙𝗙𝗘 also said, to honor this great soul that inspired us to always take the next step that is important in our spiritual life. And there were many events of music in this temple. Swamiji's music being played or sung even during COVID. We know that when you sing, there's a risk of spreading COVID. So we had a very, very small choir only to keep the distances, and this small choir continued to spread the vibration of Swamiji in this temple to all those who could watch online and listen online, and to those who were present here. And a moment with great enthusiasm and energy was probably the Family Week, the International Family Week. Every summer we would have Family Week here in the temple, and many of you who are here in the temple have participated or helped during this week with your kids maybe. And so this temple was filled with children from the age of a few months to teenagers who came here, and it was such an important space to host these families, the families who are searching who are looking for an expansion in their life, to live in the light and to live these teachings in the family, to live in divine light. One last thing that I want to say is I have been on many pilgrimages. I also guided many pilgrimages to India, to many places in India, to the Holy Land, and to different places in Italy where saints have lived and where they share their blessings, and also in America to Master's places in Los Angeles and to Ananda, to the village where many of us have gone to their 40th anniversary. And I must say that this is also a place of pilgrimage. Many people, maybe they don't want to go far away, or they don't have the possibility to go to other places of pilgrimage, have come here and have found what is a real place of pilgrimage for everyone, a place that transmits inspiration for the spiritual path, that transmits light, vibrations that sustain us on our spiritual path towards our freedom in God, in infinity. And that is what this temple of light and the temple of joy that is being built, and every temple that is being created, even in meditation groups, every temple serves to give to people inspiration and guidance, so that people are inspired and guided towards their freedom. That is, in the end, what we hope and wish to all of you who follow us in this moment and to continue to add energy to this place, to the place where we meditate, where we practice the techniques that will free us and that our masters and Swamiji have brought to us. And I pray for all of you that you may find this freedom in this lifetime. We will now make a final chant together and a mini meditation, and we sing together, I awake in thy light. Let's open our hearts while we sing.
Libero beato nel tuo eterno amore, mi sveglio nella luce, vivrò in te, Signore. Libero beato nel tuo eterno amore, mi sveglio nella luce, vivrò in te, Signore.
Let's sit up straight. Try to feel that you're sitting in a living temple that tells a wonderful story of many miracles, many blessings, many inner experiences of love, of sacred energy. Absorb this light and try to think of your body that absorbing this light, this vibration transforms into a little temple, the temple of your body, made by God. And if you look inside into your body, deep inside, you find the altar of God. Yogananda says, is the spine, the astral spine within us. That's the altar of God. And if you lift up your gaze, the highest altar is at the point between the eyebrows, where the Christ light shines. Gaze upward and feel your own temple with the altar in the Christ, in the spiritual eye. And now try to expand light from your temple outside, like this temple does, that shines light into the world. Expand light from your own inner temple. And try to see all these temples around you, living temples from other devotees who emanate their light, and to make this temple of light even stronger. Now, after we have thought about the 25 years that have passed, try to think of the next 25 years ahead, where this temple will shine ever more and more and be an inspiration for many souls to come. Think about 25 years of blessings ahead that are waiting for this temple and for the souls to come. And we will chant together 7 ohms for the next 25 years. Let's wrap our hands together and let's fill this temple with even more light that expands outside to the world. 7 Om. Now we want to send 7 more ohms to another temple, because this temple has gotten a little sister, which is still in the beginning of its construction, and it represents for us another step of expansion. The light symbolically wants to expand. So let's now think about the Temple of Joy, and together the Temple of Light, the Temple of Joy, they are one next to the other, and together they will send even more light into the world through many souls who will come, many ceremonies, meditations that will be held in these two temples. So let's rub our hands together. Now pray for the Temple of Joy. 7 ohms. Go out with inspiration in your heart.